I mean, Bob, this is just one of our ongoing favorite supplements to talk about. Once again, creatine monohydrate. I'm in the mood to say creatine today.
Creatine.
Just,
Creatine.
tomato,
Mm,
tomato. But,
yeah.
anyways, and we are going to let our listeners know. So, we're so glad you're here with us. Three things you may not know about the benefits of supplementing with creatine. And these are some emerging areas in the research, some of which I think, though, has kind of been around for a little while. But I think, Bob, a lot of us who, are maybe newer to thinking about creatine. I need to
You've
just switch
actually
back
you've
to
actually switched
creatine.
both of those. Yeah.
I'm going to switch
You're
back to
using both.
creatine. I know, because we're getting a little sidetracked.
Yeah.
But a lot of us just classically think about creatine and just like its role in muscle strength and performance and lifting or high intensity and stuff. And there's just so much more emerging here with the benefits of creatine. So we've got three areas here that we wanted to share with our listeners. And we're not going to go into too much of the sciencey stuff here, but it's ways to maybe think about the utility of the supplement in the role of your life, maybe in different contexts, maybe with other family members. Maybe you're a coach and you have athletes that can benefit from the situations that we're going to talk about today. So I think, Bob, we should dive into this first one regarding sleep deprivation.
Oh, and I think I have a big yawn coming because I have been a little sleep deprived. We all go through that, obviously. But wait, are you talking that creatine could help when I'm sleep deprived?
Yes,
What?
I
Let's talk about
know.
that.
I mean, and this could be where you literally just haven't slept enough hours. This could be time zone changes where your body, your kind of circadian rhythm gets messed up, or, international travel and your sleep schedule gets affected. I'm thinking too of like our sport performance when we're doing those long ultras
Oh, that's the first thing that
or
came to mind. Yeah.
yeah, back to back, multi-day
Yep.
adventure trips, things like this, or we're sleeping on the ground in tents and it's just crappy sleep. So there is some research here, and we're not going into the individual respective studies, but some indication where supplementing with creatine in those situations, maybe at a little higher dose, can definitely help our cognition. It's not like caffeine per se, where you're going to maybe feel like a little energy boost as,
Mm.
outright feel that, but cognitively being able to handle the tasks at hand, whether that's giving a presentation or navigating trails or something along those lines, being able to, think a little bit more quickly, navigate some things that you're needing to concentrate on, and then just helping you through those durations of time where you are sleep compromised.
Yeah, that's a good word, sleep compromise for sure. And I like what you said because I think a lot of the this research has been focusing on it, like improving reaction time and balance and what they call random movement generation.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm really glad that you kind of referred to it as, maybe you're just giving a presentation at work, or maybe you have like a really important meeting and you need to kind of be on, or maybe you are on the trails and we've all been there, done that. If you're an ultra runner, you're like, oh my gosh, am I
Yeah.
going to trip? Is it the middle of the night? Like, is it day two? No, I think a lot of these are fantastic in terms of where they're starting to look at in the research. There are some limitations because we're kind of early in, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of the research that I read, Dee, that's it's looking at cognitive processing in young adults. So we don't
Hmm.
necessarily have a lot of data for older adults. Define older with whatever you want, but I think Dina and I classify ourselves as the in the more mature category, as I think some of our listeners do also. So yeah, we still have some unknowns there for sure, right? In
Yeah.
terms of the age category. But listen, I feel like there's huge opportunity here to use this creatine, creatine in a different way, right? Because like you
Yeah.
said earlier, I think a lot of people have just been focusing on creatine for muscle health. But when we did a couple episodes on creatine and cognitive functioning, brain health, this is just another layer of that onion that I'm really
Yeah.
excited about.
Yeah. I do think this is going to be on the to pack list for
Hmm.
myself when future multi-day trips and ultras and things. But yeah, I definitely have seen what you were mentioning that we don't have a whole lot of research yet in different age groups or different kinds of populations, but based on preliminary evidence, it seems to be supportive of cognitive function in those settings of sleep deprivation.
You know what I was thinking of D2? I think D2. I just thought of vitamin D2.
Oh,
Anyway,
uh-huh.
no, I was
Nerd,
thinking,
nerd.
sorry, sleep deprivation. See, this is what happens when you're sleep deprived. What I was thinking when you were talking about that, because you gave me a great idea, I'm like, oh my gosh, because I've got a 145-mile endurance run coming up in May, and
Yes.
I'm actually going to make some special energy butter and energy bites that I do with my All Around Snack Co. for myself only, and I'm going to put creatine in there,
I
D.
support
Oh
that.
my gosh.
Please, you
Yeah, actually,
must.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna start. Not that I really do a lot of long training, but I'm gonna start doing that a little bit. But definitely for the race, like what a great
Yeah.
idea. Because here's the thing too. I think we kind of need. I would need to mess with the dosage because what I read in some of the research too was it's a higher dose than the whole 3 to 5 grams a day that is usually recommended,
Yeah.
right? So we're
Yeah.
kind of getting up there with the doses. Like I read like 20 grams a day that is separated into 4 times a day. So you're taking 5 grams 4 times a day in some of this research. So I feel like with the sleep imbalances or sleep deprivation, I kind of feel like a lot more of the research is going to go towards that higher dosing of creatine versus like the daily dose.
Yeah. You're right. I just, because one of the ranges or recommendations I saw was like 0.35
Yep,
grams, something per kilogram
per
body weight.
kilogram. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so, like, that would be
That's
definitely a
pretty high.
much
Yeah,
higher dose
yeah,
in our
yeah,
maintenance of
yeah,
3 to 5. So,
yeah. So
okay.
stay tuned on that one, right? But it's
Ooh.
pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting.
And another area, maybe not as like, I don't know, maybe not as sexy on the first mention of it, but thinking about inflammation.
Mhm.
Bob, so an creatine serving as an anti-inflammatory or an anti-catabolic
Yes.
role in the body. And maybe that's again during physical stress, but maybe that's this metabolic distress as well, where it's through illnesses, maybe it's post surgery, maybe post injury, these times where, and even in the context of sleep deprivation or, geez, the list of situations could be pretty long, I guess. If
Yeah.
we're talking about when is our body inflamed, I mean, we're aging.
Yeah.
we're
Inflammaging.
exposed
Yeah.
we're exposed to a lot of environmental contaminants and etc. So the
And even
role
just exercise too, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so the role of creatine serving as an anti-inflammatory, and then you think about in the brain, in our gut, the many areas where this can, and they're looking at as in terms of the research being done is like where is it a protective, serving a protective function?
Right.
Which appears to be in many organs of the body, but notably like brain, gut. I mean, yeah, maybe muscle there a little bit.
Yeah.
Did I say bone? I don't know. I'm lost in all the exciting areas where creatine is serving, but even in bone, like
Yeah.
helping bone to not break down
Yeah.
as much. So this
Exactly.
is, I think, super compelling for those that may not consider like I'm active, but yada yada, and I have all these other situations going on with my body. Well,
Yeah.
here is another case where creatine could be helpful.
Exactly. Very true. And I think even on the exercise side of things, some research has been done in the anti-inflammation with exercise, both aerobic and anaerobic exercise. And from what I was reading, because usually what the research would do was kind of superdose creatine before these events, so before aerobic events and before anaerobic events, such as like strength training, resistance training. From what I've read, it seems that there's from the data it seems that there's more response to aerobic exercise anti-inflammation. So
Yes,
just to kind of keep that in mind versus the resistance training anaerobic. So it's again, I feel like it's in its infancy right now, but if we're going to, I like what we're talking about because we're talking about the whole longevity, the aging, the biology of aging, and then the exercise because inflammation touches everything in our life. It doesn't matter
so
if you
true.
exercise or not, right?
And what a different shift, Bob, because if you think about when creatine came on the scene, it was for our bodybuilders or power
Yep.
strength
Yep.
athletes. And now we're saying aerobic focused,
Yeah,
or like,
right.
wow, this is all our endurance
Yeah.
junkies too. And so,
Well,
holy moly.
in the past too, I used to recommend creatine for aerobic based, like endurance athletes, to in certain conditions of training, right? So if they were
Uh-huh.
doing more high intensity training, or if that was part of their block, then I'd be like, oh yeah, maybe creatine works there. But now it kind of makes me think of a whole different lens, right?
Yeah.
Because especially with our aerobic athletes who are pushing themselves a little bit harder or longer, I mean, I think there's a time and place for this for sure.
Okay. Well, we talked about sleep deprivation, inflammation or anti-inflammation. What about our third thing we
Oh,
want to
third
bring
one
up?
is it's one of my favorites. And you kind of, I thought of an intro, when you were thinking about creatine back in the days. Check.
Check.
With bodybuilders, I feel like this is where creatine has gotten a lot of bad press is with adolescent athletes or young athletes, right? Because I feel like a lot of us back in the days, check two, um, was like, oh no, it's bodybuilders. Like that can't be good for kids. Like, no, 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 no. And listen, like creatine is the most well-researched supplement on the planet, right? I don't even know how many research or scientific papers there are, thousands and thousands. But I think a lot of them have been done in young athletes under 18, mostly in swimming and soccer. Although there's a lot more research being done, which is super cool because, 10, 15 years ago, there wasn't really much in young athletes, but, very positive. And, so I'll tell you, like parents, don't be scared of this. Obviously, here's my disclaimer. You have to use it in the right place, right time, put it in context. It's not the end all. For example, like I just had one of my college basketball players, men's basketball players say, hey, I want to gain some weight. I'm thinking about taking creatine. And I'm like, well, okay, back the truck up a little bit. Like, let's
Yeah.
talk about daily nutrition first, getting the right amount of calories, where those are coming from. Then we'll talk about creatine. So there's a time and a place, but also there's unsurprisingly, Dina, I know this is going to come to a shock to you, but there's not many studies in young
Yeah.
females. So again,
Yeah.
we don't know some of that, and that's kind of the broken record, but we're getting better with that. But here's the thing too. Again, it's not the dosing. The dosing is not what we're recommending for most adults at 3 to 5 grams per day. This is like super dosing. We're talking about 20 grams of creatine a day for young athletes. Now, which is positive because we're seeing some research show some very positive results to that. I will say this. I use creatine in young athletes all the time, but I make sure there are steps in the process that are done first with nutrition, and then I periodize creatine. So it's not daily, or I mean, it depends on the training cycle, right? But it's not every single day of the year. So I think we do need to look at the context, look at how we're using it, when we're using it, and for what purpose we're using it. But I still also feel like there's a ton more that we need to learn
Yeah.
with young athletes, especially young female athletes who
Yeah.
are normally scared of using creatine, by the way,
Hmm.
because, and we've talked about this before in the past, right? Maybe we see some increase in body water, which could reflect on the scale, that demon that tells us that we're bad people because we just gained a pound of water weight.
Yeah.
I get that point. So I see a lot of young females trying to stay away from it for that reason.
Another case I'm thinking of here, Bob, with our youth athletes too, are those that are leaning plant based,
Oh,
whether that's
yeah.
from their parents or whatever culture they're in. But if we've got some young vegan
Hmm.
athletes, first of all, you should be working with a qualified sports dietitian to make sure you're getting all your nutrient needs and calorie needs met. But this could be another case where creatine would be beneficial, not just from the growth development performance side, but just additionally supporting growth, I suppose.
Yeah,
But I think it is a really interesting area. I'm excited for newer research to come out in this population.
I totally agree. I don't know if we said this before, Dee, but should we put like the top three creatine supplements we recommend as sport dietitians, maybe over in our Patreon
Yeah, yeah.
account? Yeah,
Hmm.
I think that'd be a good place. So listeners, if you don't know yet, because we're not quite sure if you're new to to our podcast, welcome. Thank you for listening. But and if you're not new, thank you and thank you for listening continually. But yeah, in our Patreon community, we have a couple different type of memberships. One is absolutely free, so you can head on over to patreon.com/ISN podcast and interact with us with our freebies and our free community. But we also have two paid memberships where we go a lot behind the scenes, provide a lot of great things such as our top three creatine monohydrate supplements that Dina and I will provide to you. So you can kind of weed through all the ones on the market and just go right to the source, the ones we trust. And that I think will be a great resource for you.
Well, we will be keeping our eyes on the research for you all, and there are many other areas actually of creatine research being done in by our lovely, amazing scientists out there. So, and we will be having an expert on in the near future to talk on some of these aspects at more length. In the meantime, though, definitely let us know your questions about creatine, and we'll be sure to queue that up for a future episode. In the meantime, Bob, I think I will increase my dose of creatine for some of the reasons we were just talking about today.
I think that's a good idea, as will I.
Okay, sounds good. We'll report back. All right. With that, thank you again for listening and being here with us, and we will catch you on our next episode.